Hi everybody, welcome back to Hannah's Decodes. I'm Hannah. Hope you've all had a good couple of days since I last did a video. So today I thought I would talk about a question I was asked about my previous video, and it was a really good question, and the person asked, how do you discern from your own thoughts and that of source? And I thought that was great because it is something that has taken me a long time to figure out, I suppose. So I responded a little bit in a reply to this person, but I thought I'd expand on it because it was a great question. So for me, it starts with the intention and wanting to connect with divine consciousness. And I suppose that started for me a long time ago. And I think it was a bit of a challenge just because I probably didn't have much faith in myself. I had quite a busy mind, so that was hard to decipher, kind of distracting thoughts that were my own, or perhaps things I'm picking up from kind of the collective or something, and really tuning into this gentle voice that I feel in my heart center. And I also want to mention, I think as I get better at this, and probably people get better at this, the way I perhaps would tune in might change. So things shift a little bit as you grow with the experience and perhaps improve a bit. So that's what I'd quite like to share as well. If I do get other insights, I can share them. So yeah, so for me, it starts with that intention, wanting to connect with the divine consciousness. Also important for me is relaxing my body. So if you have a relaxed body, it's linked to having a relaxed mind, and that gives you a bit of space to tune in to source, creator, divine consciousness. So I mentioned I tend to take and I think I mentioned this in another video, this is what it feels like for me. I tend to feel like I'm getting a message on my my left side and down to my heart center, where I tune in and kind of pick up, I suppose, the frequencies, and then it feels like my brain translates it, or my heart and brain kind of go up and down and translates the message or the answer. But then I was thinking the other day, perhaps, or it does in its own right as well, probably stem from me internally, because if we're all source, creator, oneness, we all have this ability to just be a part of that greater force and have the knowing within us. So perhaps it's just me tuning into my God source frequency, whatever you like to call it. Yeah, so the heart center for me seems to be a bit of a truth detector. So that's why I sort of bring my consciousness down into my heart center and tune in there. So that seems to work for me. So practicing, I think, is really good, because I think the intention is obviously the start, and the wanting and the imagination that perhaps one day I'll be able to do this. But practicing is also really good as well. And sometimes when I started doing this, actually, I'll go back, because I'll go back again. I think I have a few trust issues with some people are really connected to archangels and stuff, and for me, I've always had a feeling like archangels or angels are a little bit like people. They have their own opinions. They can be good, they can be not so good. So that's just me. So I've had a bit of a trust issue about connecting with guides and archangels. So I've tended to, in the past, connect with Mother Earth. So having conversations. So I suppose that's where I started having conversations and sitting on big rocks that are in my local park, and just tuning into Mother Earth and chat, sort of having conversations which probably weren't as flowing and clear as the conversations I have now with what I feel is Source, God, Creator, Divine Consciousness. So yeah, probably a little, for me, it was a little harder to tune into, but very interesting and very fascinating and insightful in its own way. Yeah, so practicing is a really good way to start. And so I think a long time ago, I wanted to connect with God or Source, Creator, because I felt like that would be very pure information. And not to say that guides don't give you pure information, but for me, this kind of, I don't know what it is, this trust thing, to me, going to the highest source feels the best way for me. And I know people get brilliant information from their guides, their I was just listening to a guy today, so I can't remember his name, who talks to, it sounds like some kind of stellar activation. I don't know if they describe interdimensional, alien-y kind of people, and gets amazing information. But for me, that doesn't sit as comfortably as getting information from Source, Creator. So that's just me. So years ago, I would sort of be on a walk and just start little conversations where I wouldn't really receive an answer. And it might be something like I might be walking really early in the morning on a beach or heading down to the beach, and I see a sunrise and it's absolutely amazing. And I might say to Creator, either in my head or out loud because no one else is around, wow, you have an amazing imagination. This is incredible. Good job, Creator. I'd say, good job. And not get an answer, but could feel my spirits lift. And there was a little bit of a sense of fun behind the statement, and recognizing the beauty of the creative force as well. So lifted my spirits, and yeah, I think it was a nice first step to getting to have more deeper conversations with Source. And actually, my flowy, really relaxed conversations are really only quite recent. So that's also to take into. But I have been talking to Source for quite a long time. Excuse me. So sorry, I've got some notes here. Good job. And I think it's also very important to remind ourselves we're not separate from God, Source, Divine Consciousness. So to have a conversation, I think I was trying to find a way to describe this. I feel like we're in this sort of a circuit loop, which isn't closed. It can be very expansive, but it's this connection of energy and information that because we're just us. We have it with divine source and kind of everyone, because everyone is part of this life force, an expansive creative force. So we have it with everyone. So I think an important part of being able to hear or listen to answers and messages is to remember we're not separate, and that I think we tend to think of something like God or the great life force as something outside of us and above us. And like I said, I mean, I'm still probably thinking a little bit along those lines, because I receive a message. It feels like I receive a message from above me that comes down my left side and into my heart center. So perhaps that's me still thinking along those lines, that this information is above me, whereas it's my sort of feeling and my knowing is it's also within me. And perhaps it's like a cellular thing or a DNA thing, where we have these memories and this template of being having all the information and being part of that big creative force. So where was I? To remind ourselves we're not separate from, having, so this us and this information has no beginning or end. So in this loop, there is no separation. And I think eventually we will remember that we are one, a divine whole of the life force. And I think remembering is also partly feeling, because when I do tune in and get these really lovely responses, the feeling I get is it's kind of blissful. I get a blissful relaxation within my body, and it just feels really right and good. And I think, obviously, if you start off and you're having a conversation and you get sort of messy, angry answers or things that don't feel like a clear truth, then maybe it's interference from something. And I've definitely had that experience as well, interference from a busy mind or things that are happening within the world. Some people might say there's negative entities trying to influence someone. I don't know if that's true. I often, sometimes, if I feel that kind of a negative energy around me, I will do a clearing. So I will often, and I've done this before, and it's partly what Anelia Benz does. She's really worthwhile to check out. She does a thing where if you feel something quite negative, whether it's an illness, pain, or a negative energy or negative thoughts, and I sometimes do this before I go to bed, and I've watched some kind of television program or a series that's a bit, most series today are all about drama and all kind of mystery murders and stuff. So if I want to go to bed and clear that, and it's sort of going around in my mind, I'll say, I thank you for your services. Your services are no longer required. You are released to source and oneness. And sometimes when I'm lying in bed and I say that and I have my eyes open, it feels like this television series is leaving my eyes, my eyeballs. It's really strange, but it feels, and then it feels quite clear. And once you've done that, then you breathe in sort of love light, and you sort of push it into the areas of your body, or all over your body, but still you're sort of filling up that space where you've got rid of that interrupting, not so positive energy. So that's what I do if I'm not feeling like the connection is very clear and strong and peaceful and truthful. So where am I? There's no separation. So I think that's it. Just trying to think if there's anything else that might be helpful. But I'm learning. I really understand in my life that you never stop learning. And so that's why I quite like sharing, because I'm always sort of tapping into new ideas and new techniques, and some things I feel like have definitely stemmed from me. They may not be new, but they feel like they've come from me and my experience, or what is needed for me to progress spiritually in my life. And I have no idea where I'm going with this. So yes, that's right. So I think be open to learning and experiences and experimenting. I think that's an important thing. So at the end of all of this, I asked Divine Consciousness, God, Creator, if there was anything that it or oneself would like to add. And Creator said, no, good job. So I thought that was quite nice, sort of referring to me back in the early days, where I'd sort of say to Creator, good job for, making such a beautiful world. So I thought that was nice. No, good job. So sort of, hopefully I've covered some things, or some things that might make it easier for you to tap into creative source, divine source in your unique way. And yeah, that's sort of the aim of the project. And there's no right and wrong. I think that's also an important thing to remember. Probably the most two important things, I think, is that we're not separate from God, Source, Creator, Divine Consciousness, and there's no right and wrong. Life's an experiment, and just experiment. So I think that's it. So I'll see you next time, and if you'd like to, please like, share and subscribe. That's a nice way of supporting me and recognizing the things I do. So I will see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye.